One day, without warning, glowing gates tore open all across the globe. Nobody knew what they were or where they came from. Over 20 of these anomalies loomed over the cities, and while the world watched nervously, they simply hovered there. For now. In the middle of that strange new world, an older brother named Yoojin worked himself to the bone at a moving job, saving everyone to put his little brother Yoojin through school. He bragged about that little brother to anyone who'd listen. The perfect student, the pride of his life. Business was booming, and for once things felt almost okay. But those gates had started to change color, glowing an angry red. And on one ordinary delivery run, something inside the truck went thud. A monster. The gates were portals to other dimensions, dungeons, and monstrous creatures were pouring out of them into the human world. This was the dungeon shock. When too many monsters overflowed at once, whole neighborhoods became slaughterhouses. Millions were wounded, tens of thousands killed in Korea alone. That day, ordinary powers awakened in a handful of people, giving humanity its first real chance to fight back. They came to be called hunters. And as for Yoojin's little brother, Yoojin, the boy he had raised so tenderly, he awakened too, and grew into one of the most powerful S-rank hunters in the world. 8 years later, in Seoul, the world had rebuilt itself around hunters. Awakened people read glowing status windows, and even a jobless woman named Yumi awakened a strange skill, Green Thumb. Clearing dungeons was dangerous, but it paid a fortune, mana stones and rare treasures that could make a capable hunter rich overnight. And no one was richer than the S-ranks. One of Korea's most famous S-rankers was Han Yoo-hyun. Orphaned young and raised in poverty, he founded his own guild, Haein, and became the country's youngest guild master. But the glamour hit a body count. Yumi Choi, the kind hunter from the TV show, was killed in a dungeon raid. Being a hunter paid well, but it came at a brutal price. Deep inside a lowly Grade D dungeon, a crew of exploited miners chipped away at mana stones, forced to hand over 80% of everything they dug up. Among them, wearing a red cap, was Han Yoojin, the older brother of the great S-ranker, now a mocked, penniless servant. "I'm basically a modern-day Cinderella," he'd joke bitterly. After the dungeon shock, Yoojin had risen and moved out, building Haein into the nation's mightiest guild. Yoojin was left behind, begging for an awakening of his own that never came. When Yoojin finally awakened, he got a useless F-rank and a scam that buried him in debt. His S-rank brother only grew colder. "How long are you going to make me clean up after you? You're no custodian of mine. All you do is drag me down. Please, just keep a low profile." His awakening had given him a single sad title, Custodian, the one who raised an S-ranker. The Custodian title let him take people around him into his custody and grant them a mild buff. For a struggling F-ranker, it hardly counted for anything. But there was a hidden skill buried in that title, the real secret to why Yoojin survived when whole parties were wiped out. It let him borrow the skills and stats of someone under his custody at double effectiveness. Its name was Final Thanks. Twice the speed, twice the strength of the person he borrowed from, with one chilling catch. The skill only activated when that person was dead. On what should have been a routine Grade D raid, the impossible happened. Raw Cheetahs, the Dragon King of Venom and Curse, a tier, one dragon no one had ever slain, appeared and tore the party apart. With his legs already broken and his teammates falling, Yoojin siphoned their dying skills, fortify legs at double power, and ran for his life from a monster that should never have been there. He hid, he crawled, he borrowed every scrap of power the dead left behind. But it wasn't enough. The dragon's poison seeped into the air, and his stolen strength drained away. So this is how it all ends, he thought. And then an explosion split the dungeon. His S-rank little brother, Han Yoo-hyun, had come. "Stay back." Yoo-hyun moved like lightning, unleashing skill after skill against the three-headed dragon. For the first time, Yoojin saw with his own eyes how an S-ranker truly fought. But the dragon spat poison and curses with no antidote, and Yoo-hyun's every move was shackled because he was fighting to protect his helpless older brother. His movements are constrained, all because of me? Even now, Yoo-hyun snapped at him. Why'd you crawl back into a dungeon? Look what happened. How long will you keep making me clean up your mess? When will you learn your place and just live quietly? The words cut deep. Did I really hope he'd save me just because I'm his brother? Of course not. I'm useless to him. So Yoojin made a terrible choice. Even if you save me, I'll just slow you down again. Just let me die here. It'll save you the trouble of a funeral. And he limped straight toward the dragon. When did everything go so wrong between us? In the chaos, the brothers were flung together, and the truth of that night began to unravel. Yoojin remembered the funeral where they lost their parents, back when it was just the two of them against the world. But now the roles had reversed. It was Yoo-hyun who lay dying in his arms. Mortally wounded, Yoo-hyun pressed a gate stone into his hand. Rachita sleeps every 5 hours. In an hour, it'll slumber again. That's when you escape. Yoojin refused to leave. I won't be needing that. Yoo-hyun went limp. Hey, Yoo-hyun. He was gone. And in that instant, the custodian's hidden skill triggered. Final thanks. The skills and stats of the deceased, Yoo-hyun flooded into Yoojin at double power. Now twice as strong as his S-rank brother, Yoojin turned on the dragon, and along with the power came Yoo-hyun's memories, pouring straight into his mind. My brother is an F-ranker, so he must never be associated with me. Yoo-hyun had pushed him away on purpose, to keep him safe, to keep the vultures off of him. He'd ordered the guild to slip Yoojin money as his brother, to punish the scum who broke his legs, to keep him far from any dungeon. I'm sorry, my brother. I'm so sorry, Yoojin. Every cruelty had been love. Blinded by grief and borrowed strength, Yoojin slew Rachita's single-handed. Impossible achèvement urluqued. He earned a legendary title, Dragon Treasures, and a wish stone that would grant any wish once. He begged to bring his brother back, but the dead were beyond even a wish. With the dragon's poison shutting down his body, Yoojin made his final choice. Turn back time to before my brother's death. The world went white. When Yoojin opened his eyes, he was 5 years in the past, in Hane's headquarters on the very day he'd been scammed by the awakening broker. And then a voice, Yoojin, his brother, alive and whole, threw his arms around him. Thank goodness my brother's still alive. I am sorry. It was all my fault. This time, Yoojin held nothing back. He apologized for everything, promised to behave, told his baby brother the words he'd swallowed for years. I love you. The brothers were whole again. Then the system chimed. Yoojin awakened, but this time he kept his legendary titles. Dragon Slayer, Perfect Custodian, and a new skill, Super Nanny. Yoo-hyun will now grow at twice the speed under your custody. Over a home-cooked dinner, Yoojin studied his impossible new status. His Dragon Slayer title was L-grade, legendary, a rank above even S, and it came with 4 whopping skills. Resist poison, resist curse, resist fear, all legendary grade, plus Rachita's Bane, doubling his power against dragons. He was now immune to poisons and curses below the legendary tier. Could this be one of those stories where the hero goes back in time and becomes the strongest of all? Not quite. His own stats were still a pathetic F rank. His base power hadn't changed a bit. His true strength was in raising others. Super Nanny boosted anyone in his custody who heard a keyword. Who's a good boy? Amplified them by the size of the crowd cheering. His nanny skills could forge S-rankers. There was just one catch. The keyword was I love you. He'd get himself arrested going around saying that to strangers. And his last skill, as the twig is bent, let him see and unlock the hidden potential of the unawakened. For now, though, life was simple. Cooking dinner for the brother he'd almost lost, savoring every awkward, wonderful moment. Yoo-hyun, it turned out, always cooked his own food, for a chilling reason. Jealous rivals had tried to poison and curse a high schooler prodigy's meals. Yoo-hyun had refused to sell out to the megacore, built his own guild alone, and pushed Yoojin away to keep the vultures from exploiting him. It turns out I was wrong, Yoojin admitted. You still care about me. I'm so glad I went back in time, Yoojin thought. This was the best decision I've ever made. But the reunion had a price. Now that they were close again, Yoojin turned overprotective. You're staying here with me, and you can't go outside. My enemies will come for you. Yoojin was essentially grounded. Movers hauled all of Yoojin's belongings into Yoojin's place, and the S-ranker weaponized his brother's own words. You said you're sorry, and you love me. So you've agreed to this. No, it doesn't. To keep him locked down, Yoojin assigned a guard, Sung-Han Kim, an A-rank hunter and his trusted right-hand man. The guild master ordered me to keep you in here. Yoojin had been given an A-rank prison warden. Sung-Han tried to intimidate him with a predator's killing aura, but Yoojin's resist fear snapped it clean off. Suddenly, the fearsome A-ranker felt more like a fluffy teddy bear than a grizzly. Emboldened, Yoojin argued the Constitution, dodged and slipped past. And when he used as the twig is bent on Sung-Han, he saw it. The man's potential ranked A to S. Heian could have 2 S-rankers. To unlock it, Yoojin had to take Sung-Han into custody with a keyword, which meant saying I love you to a gruff, glaring A-ranker. The hard hands did not land well. He needed to change that keyword fast. That night Yoojin came home to his grounded, grumbling brother. Just wait till Heian becomes the most powerful guild in the country. Then it'll be safe for you to go out. But last time that took years. Yoojin had a better idea. He knew exactly which unknown hunters would rise to the top. If he could find them before their awakenings and recruit them, he'd build his own posse of the world's mightiest hunters. In exchange, they'd sign on as his bodyguards, and he'd finally earn his freedom. His skill let him predict a person's rank, but only if it was very high or very low, and he could awaken just one person a month. Soon the Awakening Center would open and make his prediction skill obsolete, so the window was now. The next day, escorted by his bodyguard Sung-Han, Yoojin registered at the Hunters Association as a proud F-ranker. With Sung-Han, the shield of Heian, at his side, whispers followed him everywhere. Then it was off to the Hunters Mall, where he spent his brother's money on stat-boosting gear. Gloves, belts, enchanted trinkets. Enough to ramp a hapless F-ranker up to roughly C rank. Now, geared up, it was time to hunt for his first future star. His target, Yerim Park, the future Ice Witch, one of the best A-rankers to come. She was barely in high school, forced to live with relatives running a barbecue joint after her parents died, and treated like dirt. He tracked her down as her relatives screamed at her, and she bolted. Even before awakening, she was blindingly fast. But with his gear, Yoojin could just barely keep up. She darted straight into the path of a car, and Yoojin tackled her clear, just in time, saving her life, if not his dignity. What the heck? Are you a hunter, mister? Over a heaping plate of barbecue, he won her over, even claiming he'd known her late parents. Then he made his offer. He could see her potential, and he wanted to sponsor her, awaken her, and make her a hunter. You, Yerim, will make at least a beer ranker. He handed her a contract, join Heian, keep his secret, guard him for a year, and, unusually, taught her to actually read it and negotiate her own terms. He warned her that as a minor, she'd need a legal guardian, and that guardians can rip you off. Right on cue, her uncle stormed in, dragging her back to work, the very man who'd stolen her parents' inheritance. The uncle had abused her for years. Cheap umbrellas in typhoons, garbage bags for rain, not a single one of her parents' money. So Yoojin decided this jerk did not deserve to be her guardian. You should be ashamed, ripping off your own niece. What followed was a masterclass in plausible deniability, slippery floors, unlucky trips, a face slammed into a table. All while Yoojin insisted, I didn't do anything. If you ever treat her like that again. The warning landed with a BAM. Yerim was delighted. Yu slammed his face like a pro wrestler. When a distant boom cut through, something was happening outside. The ground rumbled. Screams. Fire. A monster erupted into the street, a dungeon break, right there in the neighborhood. Sunghan planted himself between it and the crowd. Get back. I'll buy you some time. Sunghan's rank, Terra's shield, held the line, but a cold thought struck Yoojin. I don't remember anything like this in my past life. Where did that monster come from? The timeline has changed. He rushed Yerim and the civilians toward the underground shopping center, a shelter. He'd seen this monster before. Not one beast, but a colony, harmless one by one, deadly unless wiped out all at once. Which meant Sunghan's single-target shields wouldn't be enough. Yerim begged to be awakened and fight, but Yoojin refused. You're still just a kid. Let the grown-ups handle this. Get yourself to safety. There's got to be a way. I've been a hunter for over 5 years. I should be able to think of at least one way to beat it. He ran to Sunghan's side. Use your shield skill. But it's useless. On the contrary, it should be enough. I've got a plan.